everybody, and welcome at Salem United Methodist Church. I am Pastor Paula, and it is my great joy to welcome all of you today and worship with us. We are going to celebrate communion today, and so I'm inviting everybody to prepare some juice and a piece of bread so that you can celebrate in your own home. And of course, we welcome all and everyone and remind everybody that in the Methodist Church, at Salem Church, everyone is welcome to the table of Christ. And the bread that has been prepared and the juice that's been prepared for all of you. So even if you are not part of our congregation, you are sure welcome to partake in the table that has been prepared for all of you. And at this time, I'm also inviting you to light with me Christ's candle that symbolize the entrance of hope and Christ hope in our lives.
21. Days after the resurrection, Simon Peter, Thomas, Nathanael from Cana in Galilee, the sons of Zebedee, and the 2 other disciples were together. "I'm going out to fish," Simon Peter told them, and they said, "We'll go with you." So they went out and got into the boat, but that night they caught nothing. Early in the morning, Jesus stood on the shore, but the disciples did not realize that it was Jesus. He called out to them, "Friends, haven't you any fish?" "No," they answered. Jesus said, "Throw your net on the right side of the boat and you will find some." When they did, they were unable to haul the net in because of the large number of fish. Then the disciple whom Jesus loved said to Peter, "It is the Lord." When they landed, they saw a fire of burning coals there with fish on it and some bread. Jesus said to them, "Bring some of the fish you have just caught." So Simon Peter climbed back into the boat and dragged the net ashore. It was full of large fish, 153. But even with so many, the net was not torn. Jesus said to them, "Come and have breakfast." None of the disciples dared ask him, "Who are you?" They knew it was the Lord. Jesus came, took the bread, and gave it to them, and did the same with the fish. This was now the 3rd time Jesus appeared to his disciples after he was raised from the dead. When they finished eating, Jesus said to Simon Peter, "Simon, son of John, do you love me more than these?" "Yes, Lord," he said. "You know that I love you." Jesus said, "Feed my lambs." May the Lord bless this reading.
The story that you just heard from the Gospel of John happened just about a week or so after Easter. The disciples had been following Jesus for 3 years. They left the job that they had, that they were fishermen, and they went for this amazing adventure filled with passion and stories and miracles and transformations. And they were filled with hope, and they were filled with love for this Lord that was going to change their life forever. But then, as we know, their leader and Lord was put on the cross, and all their hopes were dead. But then 3 days later, the tomb was found empty, and some of the women and then some of them saw the Lord. He was alive. Yet, they were still living in fear. They were still living in the past. They were still living in grief of what happened. They were still filled with anxiety of what the future might be for them. They were still constantly dealing with this uncertainty of what would happen if they were going to go out in the public. And they were still unsure if the authority would take them and put them to jail or maybe even to the cross. They live in between fear and between hope. And during this time, they cannot deal with what the future is going to bring to them. Sounds familiar? It does to me. History repeats itself again. And again, today we are finding ourselves right in that in-between time. We want to hope. Easter happened, and we see signs of hope, but yet we are living with fear and anxiety and unknown. We feel extremely vulnerable because we have no control on anything that is about to happen in our near future. We feel powerless and weak, and in a way, we are at the mercy of events for what we have no control over whatsoever. So how can we go on? So the disciples, what they do is they go back to what was their normal, what they thought was the normal. They go back fishing, what they were familiar with. And so they go on the boat, they are there all night long, and they catch nothing. I'm sure the level of discouragement and frustration for them is high, combined with all the rest of mixed feelings that they have. But when the sun rises, they notice a man ashore. He is preparing food. He has a little fire. He brought bread for them. And they wonder who that person is. And then that person speaks with authority to them, enough that they believe and they trust him. And he said to them, friends, throw your nets on the other side of the boat. Think a little bit outside the box. Try something different. Maybe let your creativity go a little crazy now. Do something that you never did before. The situation is new, is changed. You might grow, you might learn. You might actually start doing things that you never did or tried before. Throw your net on the other side of the boat and see what happens. And the net immediately get filled with so many fish that they can barely put everything back, hold everything back on their boat. And at that point, Jesus called them and told them, come, have breakfast. And in that moment, their eyes are open. Once again, in all these post-Easter stories, they don't understand who that man is, but then at the breaking of the bread, or in a different situation, he becomes clear, and they see he's the Lord. And then they walk and they go toward a shore to meet the Lord, who's been inviting them to come and have breakfast. And he brought nicely baked fresh bread for them. See, I never completely understood this story the way that I actually understand it in these days. And today it becomes clear why Jesus comes down from heaven to feed the disciples, to bring comfort to them with comfort food. It's completely understandable, and it's something that we have been doing these days, all of us. The social media are filled with recipe and wonderful picture of all this incredible food that people have been cooking during this pandemic and during the time they're home. And it's clear that everybody, even people that don't like cooking, they're trying to cook something and do something special for themselves and their family. Things like yeast and flour, this day have become almost a treasure to find, because everybody wants to cook. And of course the jokes about all the weight that we are going to gain through this pandemic goes on and on. But you know what? I think that if Jesus came down from heaven and brought food and brought freshly baked bread for his disciple, I think that we can do too. And we can have something special that we need to find comfort in. Comfort in food is in a way a great solace that I have during this day. And I spend time in the kitchen more than ever because I want to create that sense of comfort. And because of that, I brought something for you. This is a bread that I just baked this morning. Actually, it's still warm. Unfortunately, you cannot smell it. But trust me, it's a wonderful bread. And I never baked bread in my life, but I finally started doing it. And one of the reasons is because my favorite bakery is closed down. But the real reason is because it really brought so much joy to have that piece of something that we made that bring so much comfort to us. And we will be using that bread for communion today. Because you see, the way that Jesus understands the feeding and bringing food is not just about comfort for our body, but it's also comfort for our spirit. It's the sense of the sacrament that really reminds us that there is a connection between a body and spirit. And when Jesus feeds us, he feeds both of us, all of us. Remember, he fed 5,000 people during his ministry. And that was, of course, spiritual feeding, not just physical feeding. He has been eating with so many people because of the same sense of comfort that comes from God that bring relief, both body and spirit. And then, of course, he broke bread before he went on the cross. And again, he broke bread in Emmaus with the disciples. And they recognized him in the moment that he broke that bread. There is something incredible about the feeding that comes from God to us. And it really reminds us of God's love for us, love for who we are as we are. It reminds us about the love that was given to us on the cross, that reminds us that love is really stronger than death. We remind us that love is so big and so powerful that a tomb could not contain it. It's a love that is stronger than death itself. We know that love that comes to us from Jesus is actually the source of living hope for us. We have hope because of Jesus. Hope has a name, and the name is Jesus. The last few days, I'm sure you follow the news like I did, and I've been seeing the word hope a lot. I see articles that say there is a new glimmer of hope and ray of hope, and there's all connected with the new medication, antiviral medication that is being developed and studied. And then, of course, we had some good news about the vaccine that probably will be ready in January. But you know what? Even though we have those glimmer of hope, and I think God works through those glimmer of hope and works through the scientists and works through the doctors, we are still living today in between, and we're still living at the mercy of the events that are happening. Nevertheless, we know that even in a certain present that we have, in a sure future that we are looking at, we can grow hope. We can grow a hope that is not at the mercy of the events. We can have a hope that actually anchors our soul and God's love for us deeper than the fear itself. So how can we do that? How can we actually live a hope that is stronger than any events that is happening today? The answer of Jesus is really direct to the disciple and simple to us too. Throw the net on the other side of the boat. Do you want to bring hope? Do you want to live by hope? Do you want to pass hope? Do you want to grow hope? You need to start thinking outside the box. Begin to think about the opportunity that are given to you and begin to throw the net on the other side of the box. Maybe in a place that is not so familiar to you. And learn to grow hope and learn how to do it in a creative way. We become pastor of hope. We become channels of hope. Every time we find way to pass hope to other people. And as we do that, our hope in our own life, in our own soul grows. It's truly a miracle. You throw the net on the other side, you try something new, and the net fills up and becomes something so much powerful. Remember Jesus' words to Peter. Say, do you love me, Peter? And Peter said, of course I love you. Well, you know though, what you need to do is go and feed my sheep. Become a carrier of hope. And in a many different ways, take steps right now to grow hope. You can imagine your future. That's what a hope is about. And so today, in the midst of everything we're living, we can become and take steps toward that future that we see coming, the future that we want to be part of it. And hope, you see, it's not a wish, but it's imagine that future with passion and energy and creativity as God is going to fill our net at that point. So I've been blessed by many people at Salem, knowing and listening great stories about how they pass to other hope, how they're a vehicle of hope and channel of hope to other people. And there are so many stories that I would love to share with you. But today I'm going to share with you only 5 stories, short little clips of what it means to become a channel of hope to others. And I'm going to start with Abby. Abby is 11, and she learned how to become a pastor of hope in a special way during this time.
I spread joy by celebrating
And then there is Debbie. Debbie passed hope by working in the food pantry.
Waukesha Food Pantry, you can see hope all around. I just look at hope as the creative way that volunteers and staff have reconfigured the distribution of the food so we can just coordinate a ballet, so to speak, load these carts, push them out through the door, and clients pick them up and we start all over again. Very creative. As you can see, clients are already lined up 15 minutes before we open. They're lined up and ready to go, even all the way out to the street.
And then there is Gladys and Rob. They are among the callers at Salem Church that every week call and check with people to make sure that they're okay.
It's such a joy for me to be part of the Salem phone chain. I love catching up with my old friends from Salem, and I'm also enjoying getting to know others who were previously just acquaintances. When I call people, I try to tell them a little story or anecdote, something cheerful or even something funny. But by the time I hang up the phone, they're the ones who brighten my day.
I like talking to people without being hurried. It seems like at fellowship time after service, there are so many people to talk to. You just talk to each one briefly. But on the phone calls, it's amazing how long you can talk and still keep on going.
And here is Franklin. He's 11, and he chose to use his entire allowance to help people with food and gave his money to the food pantry.
I chose to donate to the food pantry because many homes are starving, and if we can pay for their meal for at least one day, it would make a huge difference.
And our final story and face is Karen. Karen found a way to pass hope by making masks for Milwaukee people.
Hi, I'm Karen Adair. About a week ago, I discovered the opportunity to help others. I contacted Pastor Paula, and with the help of a very small group of women in the middle, we will be making 700 face masks for the United Way. We are very happy to be helping and encourage all of you to step out of your comfort zones and find a way to instill hope in someone. A card, a phone call, or hearts in your windows will do nicely. As always, my chickens are still laying eggs, and if you would like some free of charge, please contact me. Thank you.
God is never a God of despair. He's a God of hope. Please guard the opportunity that are being given to you right now in the midst of this situation to become a channel of hope for others. Guard and grow and learn to throw your net on the other side of the boat, because you know what? Every time you do that, God is going to fill that net for you and surprise you. We have hope. We have eternal hope. We have a hope that is not connected to events that come and go. And in between times, as we are now, we are indeed called to feed as well as we are fed by Christ, to share his love the way that he does it with us. So friends, And now we are partaking on the communion that has been prepared for us. So I invite you to bring close to you your bread and your juice to celebrate communion with me. And even if we're going to do virtually, it has the very same meaning as sacrament of God giving us a bread of life. And as happened on that day, when Jesus was on the shore, he prepared breakfast for them. And when they came close, he broke that wonderful bread that he prepared for them and said, "This is your comfort. This is what is going to make you strong through this difficult time that you're going to go through. This is the food for your soul and for your body. Remember, this is also my body that has been given for all of you." So every time you eat a piece of that bread, you are in communion with me. New life has been given to you. New hope has been given to you. Now you can be a channel of hope for many others. Take and eat. And during the same meal, he lifted the cup and gave thanks to the Father and said, "And this is my blood that has been given for all of you. Remember that I went on the cross to show how deep is the love for you. It's eternal hope. It's eternal love that nobody, nothing can ever be able to take away from you. So take and drink. This is life and hope given for you." Gracious God, as we receive the sacrament of communion, we ask you to bless all that we receive as a comfort of our body and our spirit. Fill us with hope. Give us the courage to truly throw our net on the other side of the boat and let that fill with your gifts so that we can go out and share hope with all those who are part of our lives. Help us to go on into the world and become channel of your hope. Amen. And at this time, as we always do at this time of the service, we take a moment to remember that we receive so many gifts from God, and we are called to find a portion of those gifts and offer them back to the ministry. You can send your offering to the address that is on the screen, and we'll make sure that that has been counted in, and it will be truly helping us through this time to grow hope into the world. And as we come to the end of the service, I like to send you the blessing of the Lord Jesus Christ that has been given to all of you. He came and really truly call us to receive his love, his comfort, and give it back to all those we encounter in our lives. And even if that means during this day to do it by phone, by cards, or by driving through, or serving people in many different ways, this is what hope is about today. Go in peace, go in hope,